What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be discussing an interesting new leak that came out this past weekend from TheGhostOfHope, who at this point is probably the most consistent and reliable leaker in the Call of Duty community. Although of course it's still worth mentioning, this is a leak, it's not officially confirmed. But with this, apparently for this year's upcoming Call of Duty, which is rumored to be Black Ops 7, Activision and Treyarch are currently planning to make changes to the Battle Pass, and apparently there's going to be more seasonal limited time modes, or LTMs, and some of them would be considered higher value with unique rewards and different game mechanics and modes. But the key here is the only way to play those limited time modes would be to have the Battle Pass, unlike how it is now, which is currently free for everyone. On top of this, they're planning on taking the higher tier skins, loot, and crossover operators for LTMs and making them only accessible to Battle Pass owners instead of having the premium event track that we've been seeing in Black Ops 6. So assuming this is true, it appears the premium track that they've been doing for various events probably hasn't been as successful as they'd hoped, so they're trying to find a way to better utilize that to yield more sales overall. And my best guess here is this is likely due to the fact that now that Call of Duty's on Game Pass, they just want to make sure they're extracting as much revenue as possible from those Game Pass users, and the best way to do that is via the Battle Pass, rather than these premium event tracks, so they're just trying to maximize Battle Pass sales. And my first thought when it comes to this leak is this sounds horrible, and it seems the community is overwhelmingly against this as well. And the big issue here is this crosses the line of post-launch playable content being cosmetic only. Like it or not, Call of Duty's monetization practices since the removal of map packs and supply drops have actually done a pretty good job at maintaining all base playable content as free for anybody that owns the game. So this means all new guns, weapon mods, perks, maps, and game modes have been attainable without spending an extra penny on the game. Sure, you can pay to unlock many of these things faster, like if they're in the Battle Pass for instance, you can pay to skip tiers or buy the premium Black Cell Battle Pass, which automatically skips a bunch of tiers. But regardless, there's always been a reasonable method to get these items without having to spend anything. And then even if you do miss out on them, this is where the armory comes in, which at least when it's not bugged and it's working properly, it allows you to unlock any items that you've missed, again, completely for free. You don't have to spend anything extra. And so far, I may dislike the prices they charge for bundles. I think they're way overpriced. I don't like the fact that they brought in premium event tracks for events as well, as it feels like they're just trying to milk as much money out as possible. But at the end of the day, with those things, I can live with all of that as long as I don't miss out on any gameplay content without having to spend extra money. Like, I'm somebody that doesn't buy bundles. I've bought one bundle in Black Ops 6, and that was the Replacer bundle, and that was primarily just so I could get the AS Val early on for content. Outside of that, I haven't purchased a single bundle in this game, and I haven't touched any of the premium event tracks, and I have no plans to in the future. And yet, I don't feel like I've missed out on anything gameplay-wise with Black Ops 6, and that's what I care about, is the gameplay, not the cosmetics. So like I said, at least in recent years, I think they've done a pretty good job of drawing that clear line of gameplay content always being free or freely accessible to everybody. However, this apparent plan from this leak crosses that line, as it would be locking gameplay content, a game mode, behind an additional paywall, which is the Battle Pass. So I absolutely hate this idea simply because it crosses that line, and this is coming from somebody that has never not bought a Battle Pass for Call of Duty since they became available. So for me, from my perspective of somebody that gets Battle Passes, nothing will really look different. I'll have access to these limited time modes either way. But it's the principle behind this and the fact that it crosses that very clear line that's the issues to me. If you're selling the game at a full premium price and you have a Battle Pass and you have a storefront for post-launch revenue, all gameplay content should be 100% free, period. Sell your cosmetics all you want, charge whatever you want for them, I don't care as long as they're cosmetics. Add more cosmetic items and crossovers to the Battle Pass if you want to make that more enticing. That's all cool with me, but leave anything playable out of it. And assuming this leak is true, this really highlights a big issue that I have with how many recent Call of Duties have been treated. I think Modern Warfare 3 is a bit of an exception here. And I know this is a bit of a tangent as well, but it is relevant to the topic. I feel like modern Call of Duty really tries to double dip, and they try to treat each COD as a full premium release as well as a live service, at least when it comes to how they monetize the games. When it comes to content and support, it seems like we get elements of the worst of both worlds. And what I mean by this is modern CODs will often launch in a fairly limited state. We don't have all the content you would typically expect. They often lock many items and features that we used to see at launch for Call of Duty games back in the day. They lock those away until later seasons, so you have to stick around if you want to experience that. And the best example of this is party game modes. Back in the day, all the party game modes were just there when you bought the game. Now you usually have to wait several seasons before you have access to all the different party game modes, and even then you might not have all of them. You might still be waiting for an additional one coming some point down the road. But it's not just those, it's also some quality of life features and some other content as well, like perks and streaks and things like that. So as a premium game, it's lacking in those areas at launch, and then as a live service game, the content is often spread very thin, or at the very least it's really inconsistent, where some seasons you get decent content and it's just fine, other seasons it's like, what happened here? There's nothing to play with, I'm really bored. Then updates are often few and far between, at least for a live service game, and there's often big delays and windows of time where there's just nothing new to play with, no communication as far as what we can expect coming in the near future so we can at least get excited for it. And so it often feels like we get that limited game at launch you'd expect from a live service game, but you're paying the full premium price, and then the level of service is more along the lines of what you'd expect out of a game that isn't treated as a live service game, or at least not a AAA live service game. So if they're struggling to reach their targets for post-launch revenue, which maybe this is an indication of that if they're willing to cross that line now by locking game modes behind a paywall, perhaps they should be looking at and resolving some of the root issues, like providing better, more consistent post-launch service and support to keep people actively engaged for a longer period of time, and therefore they'd be willing to spend money on things like battle passes and bundles across the entire life cycle of the game, rather than just for the first couple seasons before they get bored and move on. To me, that sounds better than trying to milk things even harder and push more and more people away from the game by locking people out of playing limited time modes, unless they spent additional money on top of the full premium price that they paid for the game in the first place, which, by the way, is also rumored to be going up this year. Now, obviously, that's just how I see things from a player's perspective. Maybe there is no issue according to their data with engagement over the course of the life cycle. Maybe they're just trying to continue to push the limits as far as they possibly can when it comes to milking the franchise, and they're just looking for any possible opportunity to push those limits as hard as they can. I really don't know, but either way, I hope they're seeing the overwhelming backlash in the community against this leak, and maybe they'll reconsider how they're going to handle this. And I actually do have my doubts that they'll end up going through with this, at least with exactly how it's described in the leak, where only Battle Pass players will be able to play the limited time modes. I would actually be open to the idea of them essentially building in the premium event tracks into the Battle Pass, and providing unique rewards that are tied to limited time modes where only the Battle Pass users can earn the rewards, but anybody can play in those modes. That actually sounds like it would be far more interesting and engaging than what we've currently got, as you'd be incentivized to actually go in and complete specific challenges and experience those limited time modes if you want to get these additional rewards. And then obviously, I also like the fact that this doesn't cross that line, as anybody would be able to play the mode. It's just non-Battle Pass users wouldn't get any additional rewards for playing that mode. So overall, when it comes to all of this, I think there is potential for them to improve their Battle Pass sales by making the Battle Pass more interesting and enticing. And I'm actually fine with them doing this as long as they're not locking playable content behind a paywall. That's where I draw that line. They've done a pretty good job not crossing that line up until this point, at least in modern CODs once supply drops went away. So we'll have to wait to see what comes out of this. I do have some doubts that they'll actually go through with this, but at the same time, I also wouldn't put it past them to push the limits and cross that line. Time will tell on this, but this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. How are you feeling about this particular leak from Ghost of Hope and the idea of locking certain game modes behind the purchase of a Battle Pass? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.